Manchester City 1, Manchester United 2, and there's only one place to start, and that is with Diallo. Because coming into this game, Man City obviously not in a great run of form. Man United with the new manager still working things out. You really thought to yourself neither team was really on top, neither team was really going to dominate. So you really thought to yourself maybe you're going to need one fantastic player performance, one moment of brilliance. And I thought to myself, who's going to deliver that on the pitch? Is it going to be Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden from Man City, or is it going to be the likes of Marcus Rashford, who didn't even end up playing, Bruno Fernandes, Rasmus Højlund? But no, it was Diallo, the 22-year-old, who I think it's fair to say is Man United's best player out on that right-hand side. He created the goal, he ended up winning the penalty for Man United's equaliser, and then he ended up scoring the winner as well. And he and the rest of Man United went into absolute pandemonium. And we'll get to Diallo because we absolutely have to. He was a man on the match since one. He was a difference maker. But I just want to talk about the two teams for a moment here, because I did think to myself that Man United's team selection was a little bit interesting. They get leaked the day before, so I think we had some time to maybe figure out what was going to happen. I do like the fact that Harry Maguire was in the centre of the defence. I do think that, coming against Erling Haaland, he was one where I thought to myself, yeah, he could really, do a decent job on him. And the fact that he didn't start in that Europa League game as well, I did think to myself, that was the one where I probably expected Maguire to start. So I thought that was quite interesting, but I thought it was completely fair enough. I do, like Bruno Fernandes in that deeper role. Obviously, he wasn't there for long because, after a couple of minutes, Mason Mount went off, Kobbie Mainoo came in, and then Bruno Fernandes moved further up. It's a shame for Mason Mount because obviously, he's only just got back. Ruben Amorim does seem to really, really like him, but, it's unfortunate. He needs to get his injury woes behind him. But I think that right-hand side of Man United, Mazraoui and Diallo, compared to the left-hand side of Fernandes, Diallo, I do think the entire game was really being played on that right-hand side with Diallo and Mazraoui. I thought Mazraoui, did a really, really good job on Jeremy Doku. There was a couple of times where Doku, was sizing up Mazraoui, dropped a shoulder, went down the left-hand side, and, he was able to put a ball into the box. But when you have the likes of De Ligt, Maguire and Martinez in the box, and I think especially Martinez, who did a really good job on Erling Haaland, because Haaland was coming over to Martinez's side, thinking that with his physicality compared to Martinez's and his stature, that he could potentially be more aerially dominant over Martinez. It didn't quite work out how Haaland wanted, and I thought Martinez did a really good job. But yeah, while it was Diallo and Mazraoui on the right-hand side from Man United, who I thought, were the two best players on the pitch, if I'm being honest, it was the fact that they were coming up against Nunes and Gvardiol, which I thought gave them, a bit of a helping hand. And I think that's one where Pep Guardiola potentially got that one wrong. And if we're being completely honest with ourselves, that first half, was a bit of a stinker. It really lacked a lot of quality. And I thought Man United were popping the ball around well in between the goalkeeper, the defenders, and, the deep line midfielders. But they weren't really being able to get the ball forward and create any notable chances with it. I think Man City, again, while not pressing great because they don't really have the legs, were also at the time, in control of the game. They were keeping the ball a little bit better than Man United. But again, they weren't really creating much. And I think, the first goal in the game was from Man City, and there was a bit of luck. And I think very similar to Pep Guardiola's reaction, it was just kind of, yeah, that's how we're scoring at the moment. That's what we're doing. But I do think that Man United could have defended it better, because now Man United had the second worst record from set pieces in the entire league. Only Wolverhampton Wanderers, who have just had manager Gary Neville sacked, have a worse one. And I do look at it and do think to myself that, yeah, do you know what? You could have done better from here. And this is something that Ruben Amorim is desperately going to need to sort out. But when the ball gets played short from Kevin De Bruyne, he plays it to Ilkay Gundogan, and the two players on rushing are Diallo and Lisandro Martinez. And my first issue is the fact that I think that one of them could have got there. And Diallo does. He does get a little bit of deflection from the Kevin De Bruyne cross, but he does as well as he possibly could, I reckon. I think that, apart from maybe completely blocking the ball, but I don't think he gets it out quickly enough, which means that the ball does end up still going into the box. But when you think about who ends up heading the goal, Joshua Gvardiol, he's an aerial threat. He's got the second most goals this season for Man City behind Erling Haaland, so you need to make sure you block him well. And it's this one where, Diallo and Højlund, I think it was, who ended up being caught underneath the ball, and Gvardiol is able to get a free header. I think it was very poor defending, considering the fact that Højlund was marking Haaland, and so, he really should have carried on with his man, even though the corner was played short. He didn't do that, and then he kind of ends up in Diallo's space as well, and I think they give each other a little bit of a look, and that causes enough confusion that it means that it puts both of them off, which means that Gvardiol can get the header on it. Because as they both go to jump for the ball, I do think to myself that Højlund here should probably, he's the deepest of all the Man United defenders from the set piece. He should have been, jumping a bit further out, or he should be further back in that line, along with Erling Haaland, who's a man who's trying to mark. but because of that, he's kind of alongside in the same space as Diallo, and that just causes confusion. And it means that Gvardiol is able to score yet another header, his fourth goal of this season. Sorry, and it does mean that he is Man City's second highest goal scorer. So Man United have an issue from set pieces. They put the ball into the box. Man City score from it, and it's José Gvardiol. But I think this goal really highlights the fact that both teams have an issue here, because if for Man City, if Gvardiol is the second highest goal scorer this season, that's an issue, because it really should be like the Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku, Savinho. It should be a plethora of other players. It doesn't matter that the fact that Gvardiol is getting a couple of goals, that's fine. But if he's the second highest goal scorer, that's an issue in terms of goal scoring. And Man United set pieces, they have the height. They have three centre backs. They have De Ligt, they have Maguire, they have Martinez, and the fact that you've got Diallo and Mazraoui as well, and Ugarte, you've got the height of Højlund as well. They should really not be conceding as many goals from set pieces, and that's something that Ruben Amorim desperately needs to sort out. And like I said earlier, the game did lack a little bit of quality, and in the first 60 minutes, nothing really happened apart from Man City getting a goal, going 1-0 up. But Man City, not in the great run of form. This now means that they've won one game in the last 11 games, I think it is. They were there to be got at, and United, maybe if they were in a better vein of form, it was a bit further along in the season and Ruben Amorim had some more time with these players, they would recognise that, go for it, go get Man City, because they're gettable, they really, really are. And I think that from the 60th minute onwards, Man United started pushing a bit more forward and they started going at them a bit more, and it all came from Amad Diallo, because I think he epitomised everything that was good about Man United. Gary Neville on commentary called it the fact that he was playing like he was a kid, and I think this was a good first tease maybe of the fact that Man United were going for it. And I think what they're doing here is they're putting the ball into the box, and sometimes that's not the end of the world. But also, when you consider that left-hand side of Man City, like I mentioned, Gvardiol, a left centre-back, who's played predominantly a left-back, and Matthias Nunes, who's really a midfielder, who we're going to talk about him as well, as long as Diallo later on. But him a left-back, you can really, test him, put the ball into the box. And look at this Man City backline here. Kyle Walker right-back, Ruben Dias right centre-back. Look at where Gvardiol is, so far back, playing everyone on. When you talk about your defence being in a straight line, that's all over the place. Gvardiol left centre back and Nunes left back, and you can't really see him. But Mazraoui is just behind me as well. I don't know if you can catch him on the edge there, but he's also free. So this ball into the box is the right thing to do. And maybe apart from Amad, he should really be looking for Mazraoui making that late run. Amad Diallo ends up getting to the ball. He ends up heading it, and it just goes wide thanks to a save from Edison. But this is like the warning sign that that left-hand side of Man City is there and it's gettable, and go for it. And this was just a start. And this is where I really want to give credit to Ruben Amorim, because he found something in this game that was a weakness of Man City, and the Man United had to go on and had to try and exploit it. Does this at all look familiar? Well, it's a build-up to the shout for Rasmus Højlund had for a penalty, which wasn't given. But this is also very reminiscent of the Diallo winner, if you think about it. Martinez plays the ball, Diallo ends up running in behind, he then knocks it past Edison and the ball goes in. But this is just, a few minutes earlier, 10 to 15 minutes earlier. And this one where, it's Lisandro Martinez with that ball. Manchester City's backline, as you can see, in all sorts, Walker, Diaz. Are Gvardiol and Nunes even running? Are they even ready, set? No, they're absolutely not. And it was this lack of cohesion that Ruben Amorim discovered during the course of the game and realised that Man United absolutely had to exploit. And the pass by Martinez was good, and the touch and the control by Højlund was also good. It's just a little bit unfortunate that the fact that the placement of Højlund means that the ball had to be played a little bit wider than he wants it to be, and it's not more central, and that means that he's not able to get a shot away. But when we talk about penalties, I maybe think Man United had a shout here, because I often think to myself, is it enough in terms of the contact to bring the attacking player down? And in this case, I don't think so. But I do have to say, does Ruben Dias get the ball? No. Does he make a challenge? He does. And does he get the player? Again, he does. So he makes a challenge, doesn't get the ball, but gets a player. I think Højlund is a strong enough boy where he can stay on his feet there if he wants to. And my favourite part was, he goes down. I don't know if you saw Harry Maguire comes across, try and read his lips. Maguire just goes, stay down. And, he does. He's absolutely fine. But I did think to myself, I heard Mike Dean on commentary again saying, not in this game, not a game of this magnitude. Well, why not? Because I think, for me, this was a penalty. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But it's very close in terms of that line of where is it a penalty, is it not? For me, I think it's a penalty action. I think the referee gets it wrong. And at this point in the game, Man City weren't really trying to go on and score another one. They were quite content with keeping a hold of what they had, which when I see that on a game, I do think to myself, surely the opposition must get some, encouragement from that, because if they think their opponents aren't ready to go for the game, then that means there's a potential for them to slip up. And Matheus Nunes, a player who, if you watch the channel, I do like him. I think he's been, massively underused by Pep Guardiola. I think he should be using him more in midfield, to bring that physicality. And probably not use him at left back, a position he's never played before and probably isn't going to be his forte. And it's on the fact that it's his weaker side. But, Man City don't get themselves set, and Matheus Nunes ends up on the right-hand side, ends up playing a pass. And if you look at it here, there is absolutely no danger. There's actually no danger, even though that you could probably see Amad Diallo is, he's got his stride length a bit wide. He's maybe looking to see if he can try and do something, maybe cause a bit of pressure, close a player down. But there is no pressure here. Matheus Nunes should if you're playing that to the keeper quite comfortably. But Diallo is hungry, he wants it, and he's still running around at this late stage in the game. And it does mean that, he's able to create something from it. And you can see Matheus Nunes, and he's going, oh no, I thought you were closer, but really that's his fault. You can see Ruben Dias. You probably can actually see Ruben Dias, funnily enough, but he's actually not even looking at the ball, which I think is disastrous. You can see at the bottom of the pitch, you can see Pep Guardiola. You can see him being like, oh no, what have you just done? And then you can see the rest of the Man United players and the Man City players who really don't really sense the danger. Maybe Bernardo Silva in the middle there, but if we're being honest, no one senses it. No one even thinks that there's going to be anything happening here apart from the ball going to Edison. And there's one person who risks it. And, 99 times out of 100, that ball is played straight back to the goalkeeper, not a problem whatsoever. But every now and then, one time out of 100, you can latch onto a loose ball, and that's what Diallo does. And actually, just before this, what Diallo does, which is really, really clever, is he just takes another touch into the penalty area, because he realizes that in case anything were to happen, I just need to make sure that if anyone puts a challenge on me, I need to be in the penalty area to make sure that I can, go down for a penalty. And actually, if you look at the Man City players, they get back all into a decent position here. And Diallo's trying to find a way to maybe score past Edison here, and he thinks, do you know what, there isn't really too many options. Maybe you can chip him, but Gvardiol's there on the edge of the 6-yard box. You can maybe go around him, but the angle's really, really tight. So Man City actually recovered, despite the loose pass from Nunes, into a really good position. But the problem for Man City occurs when Matheus Nunes, who at this point is desperately panicking because he thinks, I'm not playing too much, I've been given a chance and I'm out of position, but that's okay, I've got to try and take the chance as best as possible. I've just given a loose pass, I've put our side into really, a lot of danger, and it's going to potentially hinder our chance of winning the game. I need to run back, make a recovery, and rectify my mistake. But if you look at Amad Diallo's foot there, his left foot is on the ball. He isn't going anywhere. He's not trying to shoot. He's not trying to make a pass. There's no one in the box. We just saw that in the last still. He's just thinking to himself, do you know what? Then it's going to be really difficult for me to score here. If someone could take me down for a penalty, that'd be great. And Matheus Nunes does do that. And, it's a complete and utter head loss. He's just trying to rectify his mistake. But at the end of the day, it is a stonewall penalty. No doubt about that whatsoever. And it's one that could have been completely avoidable for Man City. But for Man United, once Bruno Fernandes steps up, he's probably going to score. And if you're Man United, you probably do deserve that on the balance of play. I think Man United at that point have been the better side in terms of going forward. They've been, slightly better than City, even though it has been a very poor game. I think Man United were the better side going forward. They created more chances. They had higher XG, higher big chances. But if you look at this picture here, which I took, it's very similar to the one where Rasmus Højlund runs through behind Man City defence, and then it's a shout for a penalty which isn't given. Again, Lisandro Martinez is on the ball and there's no pressure from any Man City player. But actually, if you look at Amad on the right hand side, no one is moving at all. Everyone's just trying to see where the man is, trying to see where am I in a good position. So there's actually no danger here yet. And when I looked at back, what I thought was really poor to me was where Amad starts to make his run. He's a good 5 yards ahead of Matheus Nunes. And so to me, that shows that one Man City defender, if it's not Nunes, he maybe needs to give a shout to Gvardiol. It should be Gvardiol. One of them needs to be recognise the danger and realise that only player moving here is Amad Diallo. and Lisandro Martinez is looking up, someone go with him. He's the one who's making the run, and no one does. And as Martinez plays this ball, again, the back line, the decision to start Matheus Nunes a left back and Gvardiol a left centre back, a position where he should be suited to but hasn't played a lot. Look at that back line. Kyle Walker, Gvardiol are on their own line, and then you got Ruben Dias, Matheus Nunes on a completely different line. In terms of the structure of the back four, where they should be, that is awful. That is really, really bad. But first of all, credit to Ruben Amorim, because he realised that the Man City back four wasn't quite coherent and that it can be exploited in behind. And credit to Lisandro Martinez for the pass. And then most importantly, Amad Diallo, because he's won the game for Man United. He's won it. It's his derby. It's the Amad Diallo derby now. And that touch, he's at literally full stretch. Probably doing the splits if I'm trying to look at it, yeah. And the fact that he can get there ahead of Edison as well. Edison could potentially be off his line a bit quicker if, the entire Man City defenders were maybe had more confidence. Maybe they'd have ran back more, recognized the danger more. But yeah, you cannot discount the fact that Amad Diallo just frankly wanted more, and I'll be honest, he deserved it. I'm glad for him that he did get this goal. And as he puts it round Edison, maybe Gvardiol can get there if he can sort his feet out, but he doesn't quite, and then Amad Diallo wins it for Man United. So it ends up being Manchester City 1, Manchester United 2, and fair play to Amad Diallo because he thoroughly deserved it, but also fair play to Ruben Amorim for discovering the fact that there was space in behind that Man City backline for them to exploit, and knowing that, Martinez is the one that can play the pass and you just need to make the runs and we'll be there. And sure, if you wanted to be really cynical, you could say that Man City are in a really bad run of form at the moment. This isn't the best side. They're not going to be competing for the lead this season. Does it really matter? But if we're being honest, it's a Manchester derby. Of course it matters. Of course it means the world to Manchester United fans, regardless of what Man City side it is at the moment. And also when you think about the fact that Ruben Amorim, this is the second time this season, maybe you could argue with two different teams, but the second time this season he's beaten Man City and Pep Guardiola. So that maybe is a good foreshadowing for the future if Pep Guardiola is going to stay in the league. And for Man United fans, I think this is a victory that you can take a lot of satisfaction in. I think, like I said, Maguire I think was fantastic. I think Mazraoui won't get applauded because he's playing right centre back at times, this game right wing back, but he looks a really talented player, and whether it's one of those two positions Mazraoui has to be playing going forward. I think Ugarte off the ball was really, really good. I think on the ball, maybe he wasn't getting the ball as much as he would like. I think Amad Diallo obviously was great, and I think Ruben Amorim has also found that Rasmus Højlund is going to be his number 9, someone who can run the channels, someone who can hold the ball, link up play, but also, eventually get the goals as well. So, Man United fans, let me know how you're feeling. What do you think this means for the rest of the season? Does it mean anything? Is it just a one-off game? Or can this actually be the catalyst for Man United going forward? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.